the ritual begins. Among the most feared punishments in Viking lore was something so brutal it was said to strip both body and soul. This execution was not for ordinary criminals. It was reserved for traitors, oath breakers, or those who dared to defy a Viking king. The victim was dragged to the center of a gathering. Warriors surrounded them, chanting and shouting, not out of mercy, but to honor the gods with blood. Once tied down, the executioner began the horrific ritual. Starting at the spine, sharp blades sliced through flesh, then bone. One rib cracked, then another, until the back opened like a grotesque cage. This was only the beginning. The victim could still feel everything. Each cut, each snap of bone, carried not just pain, but humiliation. The Blood Eagle wasn't quick and it wasn't merciful. It was designed to make an example, to show that betrayal against the Vikings came at a cost no one would dare repeat. And yet, this was only step one. What came next turned the execution into something almost unthinkable. The agony. With the back forced open, the executioner's task became darker. One by one, the ribs were pried apart, exposing organs still beating with life. The lungs were pulled carefully from the cavity, stretched outward and draped across the victim's shoulders like grotesque wings. The crowd went silent. Warriors who moments ago roared now stood in awe, watching the slow collapse of a human life turned into spectacle. Each breath the victim took forced the lungs to inflate visibly, rising and falling in the open air. It was a horrifying display, proof that the condemned was still alive, still conscious, still suffering. The screams faded not from mercy, but because the body began to fail. The Blood Eagle wasn't just execution, it was theater. It was psychological warfare. By making the death as public and agonizing as possible, the Vikings ensured terror spread beyond the battlefield. Every gasp became a warning. Defy the gods, defy your lord, and your fate will not be swift. And yet, the question still lingers centuries later. Was it myth, or did it truly happen? The legacy. The Blood Eagle remains one of the most debated horrors of Viking history. Some scholars argue it was symbolic, a poetic exaggeration of brutal punishment written into sagas. Others believe it was all too real, preserved in whispered stories meant to terrify rivals and enemies. Whether myth or reality, the impact was undeniable. The very idea of a person's lungs being ripped out and spread like wings captured imaginations for over 1,000 years. Even today, the words Blood Eagle conjure dread. It represented betrayal, vengeance, and the darkest edge of Viking justice. For those who saw it or even believed it was possible, the message was simple: loyalty above all else. A single act of treachery could condemn you to a fate worse than death. In the end, the Blood Eagle stands as a symbol of how humans have used fear, not just to punish, but to control. Whether or not every rib-cracking detail truly happened, its legend carved itself into history, reminding us that the line between myth and reality can sometimes be more terrifying than the act itself.